Okay, guys. So yeah, you are leaving the bodies pretty much where they are, yeah?
For now.
Yeah, well, we tied up that one guy, and he's in the carriage with us.
Right.
I don't
yes,
want
you
to,
have
but
one as a prisoner.
I don't want to argue with people, so
Yeah, you do.
yeah, I kind of do, but my voice doesn't. So.
Right. Oh, there we go. Okie dokie. Alrighty. So you guys are just gonna plow off on the skiff. Is Kia still driving?
Yes, plow we go.
Okay. Well, as you're kind of zooming along, it's really not hard to see the grooves throughout the snow of individual human tracks as they've kind of like plowed through. The snow is deep enough to where, you know, they're wading through ankle deep. So there's almost continuous grooves. Of course, initially, they're scattered. So do you have any specific plan of, like, how you want to pursue them?
Probably follow like the middle one, hoping that maybe they start converging, but we'll see.
Okay, so you're just going to follow the middlemost one.
How's that?
Alrighty. Okay. Well, whoosh, off you go with your skiff and head in that northern direction. It's probably not more than about 15 to 20 minutes to where you start to see in the distance small black humanoid silhouettes against the frosty snow. They are scattered, but they are all coming back together.
Okay.
Onward!
Okay.
Onward and upward.
You continue to plow forward. It is not long before they have managed to all get close together, and you are breathing down their proverbial necks.
What's the plan, guys?
So, let me make sure I got my distance right on this map, because I don't know if I have or not. I don't know if I checked the distance. Oh, yeah, I do. Okay. Actually, no, I don't. Yeah, I do. Whatever. It's roughly right.
We stop them at all costs, Kia.
Alright.
I'm just gonna nod intensely. Like, okay, let's do this.
There's 2 Kias.
Oh God.
Where? Where's the other Kia? I only see one Kia. Is there
15 Kias!
I only see one
2
Kia.
Kias.
Where's the other Kia?
Really? I'll just delete one. Blue.
Now
All
I
right.
see no Kias.
Oh,
Yeah, I
one
only
here.
saw one too, and now I.
Oh, there it is.
There she is.
Oh,
she
hang
was
on.
Under
I see what it is. Hold on a
she's
second.
Under the
Move out
wagon.
from under the cart, Kia.
Well, the
Well,
one
that was
on
weird.
top
She
of
was
the
on
wagon.
top for me.
Right? I
One
see
was
her
on top, but
That one's underneath the cart for me.
there.
Or she
Y'all
was.
crazy.
Problem
You deleted
solved.
the one that was on top, and now she's on top.
There we go. We
Okay.
fixed that. All right.
All right, I'll.
1 second.
If you let me, I'll be doing something.
Hang on. I'm just making a dice check. Okay. All right. So, yeah, as you're starting to kind of approach them and get closer, one of them does kind of glance, is kind of like periodically glancing over his shoulder, and you sort of see him like, you can't hear him, but you can see him like motioning like he's yelling. And briefly after that, you notice that they all kind of stop and turn, realizing that you are zooming down upon them. Okay, so they're just kind of getting themselves ready.
All right. I'm gonna give the reins to Shagget.
Okay.
I mean
I'm
to
gonna-
Radavan. Sorry.
I'm gonna take a...
Crack my knuckles, and then I'm gonna see them in the
It's like,
distance.
I hate animals.
And I'm going to fire out a chain lightning at all of them.
Okay. Give me a primary target.
It'll
Presume
just
one of the front. I
probably
guess.
just the one in the front. From
Okay, the
probably
old.
the best I can
Okay,
do.
that one, the old woman.
The old woman.
So the old woman is going to bear the brunt of Kia's chain lightning.
You said by any means necessary.
So zapping an old woman in the face.
Alrighty. That'll be 54.
I can't tell it's an old woman from that distance.
Yeah, it's 50. That'll be 54 points of 54 points of delicious fun.
Jesus
Alrighty.
Christ.
So we'll make a reflex save for her. And she does not have any bonuses, so, nope!
Ah.
Alright, so the very first thing that happens is the initial blast hits the old woman. There is cloth and singed burning rags flying everywhere. It literally blew her, it blew her in half. It tore her limb from limb. They are semi-showered with
person.
blasts of old woman.
Jesus.
Why is Shaggy laughing so hard?
Because it's so fucked up.
It is fucked up. I feel terrible.
I love that's Shaggett's reaction to fucked up stuff.
Right?
Is to laugh.
It's just pure.
Alright, and we're going to roll
amusement.
for the others. The one next to the old lady, so you're going to pretty much have it kind of bounce all the way through them, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the one immediately to her left,
Ooh.
look at him,
Nice.
like a boss. So instead of taking 27, he will actually only take 14. This guy here, he is going to eat 27.
Eat it.
The guy next to
Just
him
eat it.
also takes 27, and the guy at the back also takes 27. All right, so this, I'm just getting rid of this icon. I'm just going to remove it because there's really nothing left. Okay, and this guy who did pass is semi-injured, and these guys are moderately wounded. Okay, so as the lightning kind of like ricochets and bounces through them all, they're all kind of thrown and hurled asunder, and like either face down or back down in the dirt. You see them scrabbling to get up. Okay, you guys are moving your car, or are you pushing on forward?
Oh yeah,
Yes.
I'm going quick.
All right. Okie dokie. With that being said, I think it's fairly safe to say that you have engaged. I would call that an engagement of combat. And we can start with some initiative rolls.
Yay!
So Radovan with a 7.
I'm shocked that the woman blew up. And I love that chat is calling her Betty White. Because that's his favorite verse.
Oh, look at
Ooh.
Kia. Oh my good golly
Hey,
gosh.
boys.
Natural 20!
You guys are so unfair. That's okay though, because that means I'm gonna roll like 5 in a second.
Oh, boy.
Alright, and we just
I'm
need
so
a
happy.
Marlowe initiative.
Who gets gold?
Yeah, I have to get through my. Oh, I'm not clicked
Sorry,
on yet.
Shammy.
Sorry guys, I didn't roll a 20, I know.
And you know what's funny? Is only 2 people had faith in
Mother-
you, James.
There's a
Fucker.
20. Dang
It's-
it. No,
It's almost
still
Natural
every
20!
single time, isn't it? That happens. Almost every time,
Hammer and
bar none,
Susie.
that occurs.
I'm sorry, people. I didn't roll fast enough.
Yep, you gotta be quick.
Yeah, you should have rolled. You should have outpaced Kia. All right, and you've got Irnan with you, so we'll roll for Irnan. And he is a +4, and Irnan will be dead last.
Yay! I'm faster than him.
All right, now we'll roll for the Highland Scallywags, and I'm going to put them. They're going there. Okay. With all that done, Marlowe, you have the initiative.
Great.
But of course, you are either on the roof or in the back of the skiff. So
I didn't specify where I was.
I know that Kira and Radovan are up front, and you've got a prisoner inside. So either Irnan is going to be inside with the prisoner, or you can be. Your choice, whatever you wish.
I guess I would probably been on top looking,
Okay, all right.
so I probably would have been riding up here.
Okay.
So I'd have to jump down. Well, I don't have to jump down, but we all know what else I could do. But I'm afraid that I might need that later. So,
You might want to hold on to it.
so I'm just gonna jump down and run straight at this asshole here.
Okay, all right. So you're
So
going to
it's-
charge over to the first one, and as soon as you're jumping, that's not a problem for you at all, especially since you're landing in snow. So you can get to him and make a regular attack.
Because that's what we do when we see assholes. We run at them, right?
Right.
I am out of it. Please don't take anything that I'm saying.
Yeah,
Because that was kind of
someone should
fucked
quote
up. That's
that.
why Shagget's laughing.
Yeah, that's what we do when we see assholes. We run at them, right? All right.
See, I know it's fucked up because he's laughing.
Yeah.
All
that's
right.
the
Okay,
measure
you
of-
hit him with a glancing blow. He kind of like, you throw your punch. He brings his forearm up to block his face. He takes a bash and a bruising on his arm for 5, so that's okay. Next up in the rotation is Miss Liana.
Hey. Okay.
Marlo is down there engaged with one of them.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna cast freezing sphere
Okay.
over top.
Yeah, because it's not cold enough
Oh,
already.
Yeah. So I'm like, let's freeze these
let's
guys up a
let's
little
just
bit.
overkill it. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
So I'm gonna have a giant orb of frost.
All right. That will do 51 points of cold damage. And
10-foot radius burst.
Yeah.
So probably those 2 guys there.
Well,
Jeez.
you got to
I'm like,
set it
can
where
I
you
get
put
3
it.
guys? Can I put it right in the middle?
You can put it wherever
Get
you
all
want
3
it,
of
but
them?
whatever.
I can't.
Realistically, you know you really need to pick a target, but I mean you can
Oh.
dump it between the 2 of them if you want.
Oh, what if I tried to put it between the 3, but it probably only hits the 2 there? Because I was just eyeballing it, right?
Right. Yeah. So you're gonna
Like, hey,
dump
maybe
it
here!
right here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So from there, let me see. No, I reckon you can probably.
does?
I think you
No
might hit all
way.
3. It's pretty close. It's close enough that I'd err on the side of your favor anyway.
Okay,
All
okay,
right.
okay.
So 10-foot radius blast does up to a maximum 15d8, which is all of that for 51 points of damage. Okay, and they get a reflex save once again to try to get it with half. So first one, nope. Second one, nope. One at the back. Yes.
I just,
Okay.
wow. I'm not smiling while I do these attacks. I just want
Yeah,
to
you
note.
are. You're grinning inanely.
You are totally
like a-
Alright,
right.
so
just
51
solemn.
points of damage for the first 2. So this guy right here, he is a human popsicle, as is his buddy. Both of them are hit by this massive, irradiating blast of frost and snow that comes out. They're hurled sideways from the blast, but it is clear by the shards of ice that are embedded in their back and everything like that, they are dead. The one at the very far back here, you initially it looks like he's dead, but then you kind of notice him roll over and start to try to claw his way through the snow towards his basket-hilted sword that he dropped in the blast. All right, it is their turn. Okay, this one is going to retrieve his sword. He is going to get up and he's going to stagger to about here. Marlo, your guy is going to swipe at you with his
I
sword,
hate this.
and
Yeah.
he will hit a
Nothing.
nothing. He doesn't hit either. Okay,
He fights like an asshole.
He swings and swipes like a swingy swipey thing, but you're easily and effortlessly able to dodge both of his attacks. All right, Radovan, if you would like to do something, you have an opportunity now. Finally.
Oh, see, knowing, yeah, I'm gonna steer this cart and run this guy over, who's running away. Yeah. Seeing Marlowe engaged. Yeah.
Okay.
What?
Engaged to this guy.
So you're going to zoom up
That
and around.
makes the sentence
No. I'm. Yeah, I mean, pretty much.
Okay. You feel the skiff like very faintly go pff, as it crushes the other corpse down into the snow. But it's barely a bump because the weight of the skiff just presses it down. It's almost like a tank track running over a watermelon. Okay. So you're going to try to run him down. You have the movement rate to do that this turn. If it's technically would be the equivalent of a bull rush. So, but it's not an attack roll. You're going to make a ride check
Oh God. Yeah, that makes sense.
because you know you're.
Oh shit, this is gonna go bad. But I'm gonna do it anyway. I gotta select my character. Oh, please don't roll shit.
Yay!
Nope, you rolled far from shit. Okay. In the snow, he's going to get a reflex save to try to jump out the way. And basically, he's going to have to try to beat that. So that's the 16 is his DC. And he fails miserably. Okay. So he gets trampled by the first two goats. That will be 4d8 trample damage from them.
Okay.
Death by goat. Okay, yes. He is crushed and bloodied and bludgeoned underneath the hooves of the huge dwarven mountain goats. And by the time you're done, there is little to nothing left of him.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop as try to spin it around a little bit as I finish my movement.
All right.
Seeing that Marlowe's engaged with this guy in a fight. I forgot to say that last part.
Okay. Well, under the
In a
circumstances,
fight.
Iernan realizes
With a
he's
guy.
all but futile in this battle, so he is staying inside just to make sure that your prisoner stays properly and adequately trussed up. Marlowe.
Yeah, you guys know what's coming.
Goto van.
Give it a second, it hesitates. Rolling is me.
He hesitates.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Oh, it's 18.
Yeah.
But you rolled another
Let's
20.
see. So that is, we got an 18, a 25, 33 total damage on that guy, and he was there. So, all right, we'll upgrade him to moderately wounded. He is pretty busted up by Marlowe's assault. Kia, do you feel the need to get involved?
I'm going to take the reins from Radovan and say, do you want to take care of this guy in the back? I'm sorry.
No, I just nod.
Okay. I'm gonna nod back.
Alrighty.
You let him stay alive to see all of his friends get killed, and then
Well, he's unconscious right now, so
Oh,
on my
yeah.
turn, I'm going to take my mace out and just bash his head in.
Wow! Just
In
let
the
him
car.
the
throw.
descriptors, yo.
Come
Damn.
on. Just let him bleed out.
No, I'm just going to take my mace and just whack right in the back
Be
of the head.
merciful, let him bleed
Jeez.
out. You both are so morbid.
Everything okay, Goer?
No, it's all right. Okay. Alrighty, so,
Kia took the reins. I bashed the guy in the back of this cart who's knocked out. I did a coup de grace on him.
Oh, the one inside the cart. You're going to get down into the cart and kill the prisoner.
Yes, pretty much.
Ooh, okay.
While Marlowe's distracted.
All right. then he is dead. You can blame it on Aaron if you need to. All right. There's only one of those left. So he is going to take his 2 swings at Marlowe with his sword. Oh, a hit. And just a hit. Alrighty. So Marlowe, he opens up a gash in your arm for 11 points of damage. "11 damage, sir." And that would now be Radovan and Iernan's turn, so that's kind of pointless. So we go back up to Marlowe. I think this fight might just about be over.
Sorry, I had to switch back to my HP. It takes it a second to go back for some reason.
Oh, right, yeah.
Oh.
Alrighty. The first one is a fumble, so let's get a fumble result on that first one. Bad form. Your poor position on the attack pushes you in bad spot. You have to recover and move down 1 place in the initiative order next round. So that doesn't hinder with the other 3 attacks. So that's still another 27 points of damage, which is 2 more than he had. Okay. So, yep, you finish bludgeoning and pummeling and atomic dropping him into the snow. And the last of the escaping, fleeing Highlanders is no more. Alrighty. All dead.
I'm going to hop off the back of the cart and start picking up the bodies and putting them in the back of the skiff.
Okay.
I think we deserve that.
It was kind of a bit
murdered a bunch
murdering.
of fleeing.
Yeah.
How dare you, Rook?
All right, so you pile up all of their corpses into the back of the skiff. With that, Aaron kind of looks at you and he says, "Well, what new?"
Let's go back to the site that started it all with the other bodies.
We need
Yeah.
to cover all these tracks here.
Okay, anyone have, like, something that we could place down that would cover the tracks as we ride back?
Or just hang like a... Well, it would still create tracks, even if you
Can you
want to hang like a
manipulate
cloth
the
or
weather?
something.
Shag it? Or, gosh, Radovan.
Like a cloth with us hanging out the back, keep it so it just wipes over everything?
I feel like, can you control the weather, perhaps?
I can't.
Don't
Sorry.
feel particularly godlike today.
After what we just did, I wouldn't be surprised if Cuthbert was like, "No, you deserve it."
Okay. I can create an ice storm. That's about it.
What's the
Why
radius
don't-
of your ice storm?
Not great.
What you doing in my waters?
We'll just do it like what Marlo suggested. Put a cloth down and just have it kind of wash over the back of our tracks as we go back over these.
Okay. What
Footprints.
cloth do you have available?
At the very least, they won't know what they're looking at, I would hope.
Don't we have, like, winter stuff, like clothes and stuff, like drapes and blankets?
I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you do if that's what you want to use.
Yeah, try that, right?
So, you want to like secure it to the back of the cart somehow, or somebody gonna lean out holding the? What's the game plan?
Aaron and I will lean out holding it, and we'll just have it on the ground, just wiping over to see if it, like, helps.
Okay. Initially, it doesn't help at all. At which point you realize it doesn't have the weight to help. It's just a piece of material. It would have to have something like heavy on the back of it so that it would actually dig into the snow and cover up. Otherwise,
I
it's
sit
really...
on it.
Yeah, you can get a free sled ride.
All right, Marlo, I'll hold you. Get on We'll do that way. Do you have like a wood post or something that we could push on?
I mean, you could definitely
One of the
break out.
boards.
You could break a board off of the newly mended skiff if you wanted to, and then kind
I'll do that.
tack
and
it to the
push
back of
down.
the sheet, so that that's digging in. That would probably work.
That's what I'll do.
Okay, alrighty.
Cool.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's not seamless, but I mean, it definitely it makes it look a little bit more kind of dubious. It's clearly not skiff runners or footprints at that point.
Okay.
And and given the wind and the way that the snow is, it's much more likely that that's going to get covered over and disappear far quicker than the deep trenches that have been forged by the runners of the skiff and the footprints of those that were fleeing.
Okay.
So your game plan is to take all of the corpses back to the other.
Yes.
Okay.
The other scene of the crime.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna dump them against the rock where the other corpses are.
Bastards.
All right, so you pile all of the dead Highlanders together. Congratulations, you now have a pretty large pile of dead bodies of Highlanders.
What I always wanted.
That 11 plus him, that's 12 of them all in all. You have a dozen dead Highlanders to play with. Actually, and I'll just take him out because, actually no, 13 because he was there, wasn't he? So there's actually 13 of them. Alright,
What exactly is your plan here?
a huge pile of corpses to deal with. That's probably something.
Honestly, Kia, there are many options of what we can do. I don't like most of them.
Yeah.
Marlo, Irnan, and coming out here and we need a powwow, I guess.
Okay, so Irnan comes out of the side of the skiff and comes wandering over. And he's like looking at you and looking at all the corpses. I said, well, we made quite the mess, didn't we?
We forced our hand.
I'm gonna look at Marlo as Kia says this. Gauge a reaction.
I don't say anything or do anything. I'm just staring.
We came here to hope to get the scum to assist us in our efforts with the Valkyrie.
Which was a mistake.
You think that was the mistake?
The mistake was...
Who tries to get help from scum, Redovan?
Well,
That's not the kind of help we want.
And I came here honestly thinking that it would be, the likelihood would be low. But I didn't want to just sit in the village waiting for this summit to be called with no action to be done. You can blame me for this path, I guess. I don't feel bad for what happened here. I mean, I regret it to
These
some
people
degree.
shouldn't have been killed.
I disagree, Marlo.
We shouldn't have had to do this.
These people
But
were,
I don't blame you, though.
Okay.
I didn't say anything. I didn't try to stop it either, so...
these people were clearly breaking the law. If it wasn't the law up here, it's definitely the law in Arconis, and that's the law I uphold. So,
I just wish it would have played out a little differently, I guess.
Yeah, but we knew that this was going to happen. Come on.
but
I was trying to give them the benefit of the doubt.
I mean, what would he have done? Just let them rob us? I mean, would that have been a better choice for you guys? A little
You shouldn't
option?
have been here.
The
Maybe we could-
Lowlanders. Go ahead,
Maybe
Tia.
we can turn this into a positive somehow.
Okay, how?
More lying would be involved, really.
Well, I mean, it seems to me at the moment, as long as we didn't miss any, that the rest of their kinsmen do not know they're all dead at this point.
It's true.
Okay, so
They're kinsmen.
we hide the bodies and do what? Return back to the village with nothing? Just and
We
hope
Hide the
that-
bodies?
Manipulate the situation to our advantage.
Okay, how do you propose we do that?
Well, it was kind of a dumb idea I mentioned earlier that we all kind of laughed at, but maybe we could make it happen. What if we made this look like Valkyrie did it?
We shouldn't benefit from this.
We need to benefit from this, Marlowe.
I said, aye. They didn't have to leap out and try to rob us. They got what they was. I mean, they got what was coming to them.
Aaron, what is the punishment for what they attempted to do to us? Not the assault and the fight and the attempted, because you could argue that we were defending for our lives, they were defending for their lives, but they clearly were here to rob us and possibly kill the goats.
Well, I can tell you, if this would have been any of my kin in this situation, we'd have done the exact same thing that you did.
Okay.
I mean,
Because
our laws up here are simple. Petty theft, you might lose a finger, possibly a hand. Or you might have to come up with some minor reparations in the, should you have stole a goat from somebody else and ate it and can't afford to, replace it. But these bastards come down from the mountains and thieve sheep and cattle and horses. I mean, and they tried to rob us fair and square, tried to take all of our possessions and belongings. Damn right, they're dead, and that's what should happen to the scumbags. They deserve what happens.
okay. In where we're from, if they try it on nobility, which we are, although we did not declare ourselves to be, first offense, honestly, 30 lashes and up to 10 years in prison minimum. 30 years if we felt it was a heinous act. Second offense or more, life imprisonment.
Have you seen many prisons since you've been here?
That's kind of why I'm okay with having them be killed. Because they did do the crime. Now, their encampment did not. I mean, we can assume that they would, but they are not guilty, and it would be unfair for me to personally say they are guilty and worthy of death, or whatever.
Well, I don't know how long out from the camp they've been, but if they didn't return, it's probably fair to assume that someone had come looking for them in a day or two. Possibly more, depends on how far they were traveling.
Well, they did say it was a couple hours from their encampment, so
So you agree that we did nothing wrong?
with this group, regrettable, but no.
Then we shouldn't hide the bodies.
It's unfortunate. What the problem is, while we acted in self-defense, they're not rational like that. They find these corpses, and with the closest settlement being that of the Erskines, me and my clan, they're going to come looking for blood. They're not going to bother to try to ascertain of who it was that actually did this. They're going to assume it was us. And your next thing
If
you
your
know,
clan,
they're going to come down from their hideouts and we'll end up having midnight raids and houses on fire at night and all that kind of stuff. He said, and we'll have that to deal with as well as the Valkyrie should they show up.
if your clan had been traveling this way and was attacked by this band and killed them all, what would you have done with the bodies? You left them
Honestly,
there?
No, buried them. probably buried them up amongst those rocks and in those stones and weighed them down as best we could and hoped that they never find them.
Well,
Either that,
mean-
or we just leave them there and accept the fact that we're declaring war, and the two clans go toe to toe, which has happened in the past many a time.
cannot do that at this time. That's too
I-
risky.
I do not want to jeopardize your standing with him because you are just a guide to us. It was our actions, and we are not of your clan. That would be unfair of us to ask that you to shoulder that burden. Now, as for trying to make it look like the Valkyrie did it, how do you suggest we do that? Because
Are you serious?
I am weighing my options, Marlowe. I have to.
So you're okay with starting a war between them and the Valkyrie, but
I
not...
am okay with trying to deal with this mess in a way that'll be clean for everybody, or as clean as possible.
Okay, but
I don't want it, though.
You haven't even heard the Valkyrie side of this. Yes, we ran into that one band that attacked us, but
Right. One band that attacked us with no provocation, they outnumbered us.
we don't even know if they were with the rest of the Valkyrie, though. What if they were an outcast band? And we're gonna put the blame off on them, maybe? That's not fair.
Make a good point, Marlowe. Damn it.
If
Norman's
we could,
trying to help. He's giving you suggestions.
Marlo, if we could open a line of communication with the Valkyrie people, I would love to talk to them and get facts straight regarding them and their motives and their intentions. I'm just going based on what I've seen. What I've seen is aggressors who outnumbered us, who we wanted to be peaceful with, and who attacked us. Now, were they a fluke? Possibly. But what if that is not who they are, and what if they are all aggressors and they need to
What
be
if they're not, and you sick these people on them, and then find out that the rest of them were okay and they weren't like that?
Aaron's just kind of listening. He said, I've never had any quarrel with these Valkyrie before, but then we've never come across them either.
Okay. Kia, I like your idea, although I don't think it's right at this point in time, and I don't actually see how we would stage a scene. Although part of me would want to do it, because what was the point of us coming to the Highlanders? To get them to support in some fashion you guys, Aaron, if a war were to break out. I would rather there be no war. I do have to emphasize that, because I guess it gets muddled after this carnage, and I'm going to point at all the bodies and the blood-spattered rock.
And I don't disagree with that part. I mean, if a war breaks out, yes, both sides should have a chance. But starting a war is not right either.
Well, burying these bodies is not starting a war, it's preventing a war. Agreed?
Yes,
Well,
but
as
I maintain that by hiding them, you're saying we did something wrong.
Well, it's not so much about whether we did something wrong. It's about the aftermath of you're not going to have a discussion with the rest of the Highlanders to try to explain things. Under normal circumstances with reasonable folk, you could say, oh yeah, they jumped out and there was a scuffle, but they're not going to see it that way. So if they find these corpses, they're going to assume it was us. And then they're going to act accordingly. And there's not going to be no chit-chat or diplomacy and all that matter. Those shites are going to come down from the mountains and burn the barns and set fire, kill the women, fight the children, do all the sick, twisted things that they do, and we'll have to fight back. And instead of worrying about the possibility of these Valkyrie showing up from the east, we're going to have a battle coming and an army attacking us from the north. And then they'll go and rally other northern clans, and we'll go and rally other southern clans, and there'll be a huge clan war, and it'll all spill over, and at the time, everything's just gonna go to shite in a bucket. If we
I
bury the
agree with
corpses at
that.
the very least, there's a good chance that they may not find their kin.
So-
at least not the new anyway.
So, Marlo, you make a lot of good points, and you're right in most ways here. And I know we argue all the time, and I kind of wish it wasn't always so, but I will say this. When we got into that scuffle with the Fey Lord, right? Whatever his name was, the Verdant Prince. I don't even know his name, but I just know him as the Verdant Prince. We copped up to our deeds, right? We approached him after the fact and said, yes, we did this. Yes, Kia burned down a fucking forest in that scuffle. Do you have it? If I were to give you my word that at some point I will cop to this deed if you let us bury the corpses now. I am not one to walk away from my responsibility and what I've done right or wrong, and I would rather these guys not be dead. I would rather them escort us to their Highlander leader and have us have a nice chat over some whiskey about possibly aligning together, but that doesn't seem to be in our cards. Let us bury the corpses now, not to hide something, but to protect the Lowlanders. I will always be the first to say, yes, I was responsible for something if it comes to that, and if it needs to be divulged. Because I've done it before.
Radovan is true to his word, Milo. Probably.
We have done it before. This is not Iranin's fault or his clan's fault. It is our fault, so we should shoulder it, and we should bury these bodies to protect Iranin and his friends.
Find
Yes.
it funny that you think I can stop you. We'll do whatever.
You have more influence with us as you realize, Marlo.
Well, whether you're going to do it or not, I am. The difference is, does it take us a couple of hours to cover them up, or does it take me half a day?
Well,
I would never stand by and watch my friends do something just because I didn't agree with it.
Well, then we best get these wee bastards underneath the snow as quick as possible.
not the snow. How about that rock? Kia, how about you do your little rock, buddy? We lift that boulder, dig a hole underneath it, and then plop it on top.
Oh, wow.
What do you think?
Do you bring any shovels? That ground underneath that snow is going to be as hard as rock anyway. You're never going
Why
to
would
dig
we
that.
have brought a shovel? We didn't
I-
Want me to
expect
blast it? I can
I
blast
do.
it.
I have hammers, hand picks, and a shovel. One
And I
shovel.
have a fireball.
Like, my point being that the ground underneath that snow is rock hard. You're not going to dig through it. Not this time of year. It'll take a month of Sundays to dig a hole big enough to put all these bodies in.
Does I
Well-
have a fireball mean anything to anybody?
You mean just torch the remains?
No, I'll blast the ground and get it started for us.
Why don't you just get rid of the evidence by
I don't
blasting
want
them up?
that. I want to
Well-
burn these guys alive.
Not to mention a bloody
I know,
great
I
fire
bet.
in the mid of nowhere might
Right.
at least, being that they're only a couple of hours away, they may see smoke on the horizon and come to check it out anyway.
All right, that's fair enough. That's true.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought about fire too, but then I was like, he's gonna say they're gonna see the smoke, and
Just one simple fireball into the ground won't cause too much of a smoke trail, though, will it? It's not gonna like burn it.
Well, let's move the boulder and get the bodies clear because your fireball is big. And then we'll use my shovel and one hammer and one hand pick and try to break up the grounds and that you saw.
All right,
Deal?
sounds good.
Alright. So what you gonna do?
We're gonna move the bodies away from this rock. This special rock.
Okay.
This is the biggest one we see, right? Yeah.
Alrighty. Oh, I'm going to move the cart temporarily and make it easier. For
Yeah,
you.
we're moving, everything away.
Alright. So you shift all the corpses.
Probably further than that, but yeah, I mean...
Where are you going to bury them?
We're going to bury them under this rock.
Okay,
right here.
I see what you're saying. Alright, well, I know what you're doing. They can stay there for now.
Okay.
Okay.
Kia, rock elemental.
Yeah, I'm gonna wave my arms and let this rock elemental come to life to
Alright, so once again...
do my deeds.
Bulging out of the snow, you see the huge, big, formed arms as the big monstrosity pulls itself out of the ground, leaving a massive hole behind it.
Just use that hole.
Let's use that hole.
You totally could.
Let's do that. Move the rock on top of that one.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So we'll move the bodies out of that fucking hole.
Okay, so you literally want to just take all the other bodies, drop them in the hole where the elemental came out, and then dump that big rock on top of it?
And just roll it over, yeah.
Okay.
Is that gonna stink?
Well, in the snow...
Well, frozen.
Yeah, they're going to stay decomposed. I mean, they're going to take a lot longer to decompose. All right, well, the elemental goes over and starts picking up the bodies and dropping them down the hole, and then it picks up that massive boulder and rolls it over, and it sits like a giant egg in an egg cup into the hole. Probably doesn't take it more than about 15 to 20 minutes to accomplish the whole task.
Wow.
The
Yay!
entire time, Ian's like, well, that certainly did the job, didn't it?
How big is your ice storm? How big is it?
Just 20-foot radius.
Well, why don't you set it upon the rock and where we fought, and so to like mix up the stuff, because some of the blood and whatever.
Right.
So just kind of turf up all the snow to cover up any more evidence and all the footprints that have been going backwards and forwards.
Yeah, I'm gonna lead the skiff away, like over here where I am.
Okay.
Alright, once everyone's out of the way, I'll cast Ice Storm on top of the area.
Okie dokie. Alright, yep, so ice and snow goes flying everywhere, and you all have to shield your eyes from the snow that's being flung around inside of a small tornado, but eventually by the time it's done, all the snow is just thrown and torn around everywhere, and there's really no sign at all of any scuffle whatsoever in this area.
Good job, Kia.
Thanks. Let's get it out of here, please.
You're just going to have your elemental dissolve?
Yes.
Okay. Alright, well then it doesn't leave any tracks either, because it disappears where it stood, so... Alright, okay, well in no time at all you've managed to cover up your tracks. Now I guess the question is, what to do now?
Alright. Back in the skiff, I'm just going to look at Marlo and I'm going to say, I dare say you don't see us going to the Highlanders encampment. It's worthwhile, correct?
Depends on if you think they're all scum. To use your word.
They are all scum, says Ian. The thieves and vagabonds, that's what they are. But you knew that before we travelled out here.
Exactly.
So,
It's like putting a piece of cheese in front of a rat and expecting it not to go after it.
as long as we...
I don't believe they're all scum. No disrespect to Irnin, but I think it's still worth a shot. And if they are all scum, then fine, but...
They're women and children. At least the children. Some of those have not yet learned to become the scum that they're going to become. That's for sure. But they'll learn.
And that aside, Kia, going there, we'd obviously have to cover our tracks and lie about what happened here, right? And then the odds of us
You'd have to be Doty or a Bampart if you're going to go in there and say, "Oh, we butchered a bunch of your kin. Not you're fine, nothing."
Absolutely.
Right. I don't
Would you be okay with going and asking them for help now that you've killed people that they're related to?
Honestly, no, I wouldn't.
Well, they
I
attacked
wouldn't
us.
like it. They did attack us, but it would be a little... Honestly, it would be a little extra thing to have to deal with and juggle, right? So, the whole point is we try to stop this war from happening, first. Second, we try to get the lowlanders as fortified and as well positioned as possible to deal if a war were to break out. The Highlanders at this point, they seem too risky to me, especially after what happened here, knowing we'd have to lie, knowing our track record with diplomacy, probably something will slip that we won't want to slip out, and it'll cause issues.
Well, can I say we didn't tell you that before we travelled out here for a couple of days? As I said, unless you're going to offer them a small fortune and buy their loyalty, that's the only way you're going to get them to do a darn thing anyway.
That's exactly what we are gonna do.
That was honestly the plan from the get-go, was
Then has that changed? Because
You can really trust somebody like that to have your back just because of money.
No,
then wouldn't have...
we don't trust them. Never will trust them.
Exactly.
Right, Marlo, the idea would be that they would not be a part of the main army. They would be a separate aspect. If they showed up, it would be great. If not, we would know that they betrayed us. I would not want to have them at my back in a war. Absolutely. I'd want them to be off to the side, possibly being shock troops or some surprise element, like the Harrier tribe was during the war. When they rode in, we didn't expect them at all, and they showed up.
They could sweep in and take out both sides.
So,
Well, as I said, getting the Highlanders on side was yours all it was all your ideas in the first place. Now, I'm not going to be no Jesse Barra and turn tail and go back. I promised I'd come and help you and do what I can. And if that's what you want to do, we can do that. I mean, to me, it looked like we just pretty much hit a reset over everything. The corpses are gone. There's no evidence that we did it. On the other hand, now you at least see what we're talking about. This is the sort of thing you can expect from these shites.
We tried, it didn't work. It's the same thing as with the High Elves.
yeah, but the High Elves, that was we had Risa, which was...
Well, and
And
to be fair,
this time we killed some of their kin.
you just
Yes.
dealt with a bunch of low scumbags. You didn't go before a chief or a chieftain, and they're not going to speak for nothing.
It's unfortunate that this was how we met them
It is.
for this situation, but it's what happened.
Well, the plan initially was to get an audience, to get them to agree to some kind of a deal, and then we would travel into the mountains on that alternate path, remember, to find that cache. And I'm going to say that in front of Aaron without any reservation.
Right.
To use as our leverage. If anything, if that cache is still out there, and Beecham was correct, it can still be used for leverage in some form. I'd rather give it to something more trustworthy. Like the dwarves, since it actually belongs to them, although,
Beecham would say that's debatable now, but
that's true. You would say that's debatable. And also, it would be hard to use it as leverage because the dwarves would probably just say, well, that's ours anyway, and still not change their tune. But we don't have that leverage at the moment, so it would probably be good for us to acquire it eventually. The other option is to try to find the Valkyrie. Maybe
I
a
like
group.
that option. I want to know what they're all about. There's so much talk, and I've only seen one band.
Well, there's...
For all we know, they would never had any intention of coming down.
True.
Well, there's two possible ways I can see us finding the Valkyrie. One, just traveling like we did with these guys and stumble upon them. Or two, making our way to the other dwarves, the hill dwarves, and maybe they have had deals with him and could open a line. Honestly, those are the only two ways I can think of. Which I've said before, right?
If we go to the hill dwarves, then that could kill two birds with one stone.
Well, that's a long journey.
Yes, we've made many long journeys.
Would we make it back in time for the summit is the question.
No.
No, I would say after the summit we do this. Depending on how the summit goes.
Well, if anything, let's get Irian home because he's done what he said he was going to do, and we don't want him just to be out here forever. As much as we enjoy his company, it's unfair for us to ask more of him than he has offered.
Okay.
So let's go back to the frickin' village.
Okay, so you're going to abandon the traveling north and head back to your village. Okay, which is
one band just destroyed us.
Back to Cairnemoore you go. So yeah, it takes you a couple of days of travel to get back there. By the time you're back there, it's not that long, just over a week or so, until the conclave is going to be held anyway. All right, and there you guys are. Okay. All right, so yeah, it takes you a couple of days to get back to Cairnemoore.
All right. So the conclave is still like a week out, right? Or
it's been about 5 days. So he said it was going to be 2 weeks. So he said you got about 9 days to kill. Which, of course, you can do so quite easily by just waiting, if that's what you want to do.
Great, more killing.
We'll kill time, not people. It's morally better.
Right.
What did time ever do to you?
Obviously, we're going to inform the chief of what transpired with Irnin,
Okay.
and then tell Beecham what transpired.
All right. Well, we'll have that discussion with Beecham and the whatnot here in just a moment after we take our first short break. Right. Okay. So you guys want to head to the tavern at Cairnemoore, and meet with your friend James Beecham. I'll put you in here, and we'll change the tone a little bit. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and queue up some. That'll work. And got some. Can you hear that? There it goes. Okay. All right. So yeah, you find your way back to the tavern at Cairnemoore. We'll repopulate it just a little. Okay. Alrighty. Take it away.
Little Beecham, as I sit down.
We're back.
He never left that chair. Apparently, he's still there, getting wasted, probably.
Right, he gets back there and he's, yes, he's a little rosy cheeked. So he smiles at you and he says, "So, you weren't gone very long. Am I to take it that things went exceptionally well?"
They went amazing. The war's over. We can go home.
Oh, well, splendid. Oh, of course, I do sense a hint of possible sarcasm there.
Cal's teaching me sarcasm.
Basically,
Went
Beecham
horribly.
we encountered some of the Highlanders. They attempted to rob us at sword point, and we killed them.
Oh. So, really didn't go well at all then? Went pretty much terribly.
That music. I just hear it now. The good news is we have 13 less Highlanders to deal with if ever a war breaks out between them and these guys.
Yay!
Well,
It's really
I suppose
embarrassing.
that's good. So, what are we going to do now? Sit around and wait for the meeting to find out just how many of these lowlanders are willing to support each other and not beat each other silly?
Pretty much.
We have another idea which is best undertaken after the summit, because we would leave here with the most information we can gather and possibly revisit the dwarves since it's probably en route. But the idea is basically to go to the hill dwarves further to the north and see if they can't get us an audience with some Valkyrie representatives to kind of learn the way of things.
It's an
What's
interesting
happening.
Theory. Do you know where the hill dwarves are?
You said that they were closer to the Valkyrie encampments.
Yes.
I think they're probably in the hills.
Well, they're kind of in the foothills of the mountains, kind of, I suppose, much like the Highlanders are on this western side. They are in the same sort of areas on the eastern side. The problem is, there's an awful lot of Valkyrie settlements between where we're going and where they might be.
Is there a way to get to these foothills without going through these settlements, like through the mountains?
Not that I'm aware of. The only reason I even know about the hill dwarves is I happened to see a couple of them come visit the Jarl of the area that I was in. But I never actually witnessed where they come from.
Now's the time I wish we had an airship.
I can certainly lead you to where the Valkyrie villages and settlements are.
And these settlements, are they a lot like this here? I mean,
No.
or are they more fortified and...
Oh yeah, well, it's not really fortified so much, it's just they're a little bit more established and they're a lot larger. As I tried to explain to you before, the volume of folk here in the lowlands is a mere fraction of what it is for the Valkyrie. The lowlanders would quite obviously be butchered in any reasonable battle should they face the Valkyrie. Basically because the Valkyrie are more bloodthirsty, they are armoured, and they outnumber them probably 10 to 1. Of
Well,
course, this was the hope of having the Highlanders on side to help balance out the numbers, but without that...
well, I do recall Ironbeard, right? Ironbeard.
The Dwarven Lord.
Say that there is a path to the hill dwarves through the mountains. He did mention it to us. I didn't ask for specifics, but there's a chance we can try to circumvent the Valkyrie establishment and go straight to the hill dwarves without the Valkyrie.
Okay.
If we wait here for the summits, we get a response to the trade deal, which we could then return to Carvarok and then get more accurate directions. That's possible. What do you say, guys? I mean,
Well, in theory, we need to go
Yeah.
back to Carvarok after this conclave with the offer that the conclave presents to the Lord of the Hall.
Also true.
which we would have to do anyway, which is kind of... the other thing is this cache that we haven't
yeah.
really pursued.
No, we haven't, no.
It is of your opinion that the dwarves will see such a spot as rightfully theirs and not to be
No,
used
it's
as
not an
leverage
opinion,
by
it's a
us.
fact. They
Right,
will,
but centuries in the past.
it doesn't
fair
matter.
enough.
If a dwarf touched it aeons ago, according to dwarven law, it belongs to them, unless you have some form of rightful transference. Just because it's misplaced doesn't mean it's not theirs anymore.
Right, but cluing them in to its location, you still reckon would not sway them in aiding us in
No.
any way.
I think
They would
what
see it
happen
as a
is that
given right.
the second they found out we knew about it, they would force us to give them the information, deny us any rights to go anywhere near it, and set forth on their own and reclaim it. What? Bugstaff! New subscriber hype, hit that
Hey,
button.
Bug.
Take your pants off and
Thank
hit your
you.
hypes. Appreciate it, buddy.
There's some hypes.
Yes,
And their reclamation efforts would be heavily guarded, I assume.
absolutely.
What?
If we would lose any claim to any of it, it would become as futile to us as your recent efforts with the Highlanders. The only way that the cash is going to be of any value to us is if we go and secure it privately and quietly by ourselves.
There's always the far-fetched idea that we give it to the Valkyrie and then tell the dwarves that the Valkyrie have it, so they would help us. And I'm gonna kind of lean back in my chair and chuckle.
That's exactly what Marlowe advised against.
I know, but the dwarves are more trustworthy than the Highlanders in that regard.
but-
It would inspire them to leave their
Even
castle.
I, at that point,
As far as
might
we know.
But then who are the
possibly-
untrustworthy ones in that equation?
I'm just saying, if I was a different person, I might think of that and want to pursue it. I'm not a different person.
That would be a very dangerous game to play, in my opinion. Knowing the temperament of the dwarves as we do
I
now.
agree wholeheartedly. It was a half-hearted. It was more in jest than anything.
I could tell he was
Implicit
joking.
He says, which does
By the
also
cute
bear
smile.
mention that, if I was to draw a comparison, I've spent a good bit of time in and amongst these lowland folk, and I would say that if the lowlanders are akin to the mountain dwarves, the Highlanders would be more akin to the hill dwarves.
In
So-
terms of temperament. and-
Yes.
Awesome.
So I wouldn't
Go kill
expect
some
you
hill
to get a
dwarves.
particularly warm welcome. In truth, I don't think you're going to get a warm welcome from the Valkyrie or the hill dwarves. I just happen to have a favorable relationship with one Valkyrie Jarl,
Right.
which
and
at
this,
least I feel could get us a introduction. What happens after that?
Oh,
As
boy.
I said, I have a favorable relationship with him, which just means he will tolerate my presence and won't have me stretched, hung, blood-eagled.
Right. And this.
I
eviscerated.
say we always start with what we have, and that's a connection we have.
They brought us in on a winning battle here.
Right?
He says, I do at least think it would do you good to see the Valkyrie and understand
Yes.
exactly what it is that we're playing with.
I agree, because it would be foolish of me to only consider them as like another Drakar Yankee, which is unfair, and it's something that war has kind of colored my vision of the good and bad. So I
Glad
apologize.
to hear you admit it, Sir Adavan.
This favorable Jarl, how easy would it be to get to him without encountering others of his ilk?
Well, he is at one of the southernmost regions last I...
Yes.
So, probably easier to get to him than most. Of course, if they've started raiding up and down the coast, which they may well have done by now, there's no guarantee that we're not going to meet raiding parties before we get to him.
And these raiding parties would just kill us outright. They would not
I don't know.
capture him.
They're much more likely to try to capture you.
We could try to skirt around them somehow.
And if they do approach us, we do not react like the Highlanders. We just let them capture us. That's a gamble.
I'm not saying we let them capture us.
Maybe
Perhaps we could think of a better way to approach it beforehand.
Or we try to lose them, right?
Yes. Unless they have those flying creatures again.
Well, that would be a
We'd be
priest.
forced
I
to
imagine.
attack.
I'd rather be captured than fight another batch of Celestials. The Baihu notwithstanding, I would rather not. So we wait here for the summit, and then we go. Or how on the skiff? How long a journey would it be to this Jarl?
Well,
Especially if I.
honestly, it's hard for me to tell. I know where it is in the direction, but understand the way I travelled from there to here or through to you was a different route. And I'm not used to skiff travel, so I really don't have much of an idea, to be honest.
I mean, I could hasten our journey with some well-placed magic on the goats. I thought about it the other day. Obviously, though, there would be a sacrifice of my own ability if a war or fight were to break out, but it would make our journey quicker.
If I had to hazard a guess, I would guess about a week's travel on that skiff thing. Maybe closer to 2 by foot.
I could probably shave off half a day or to a day with the right magical enhancements. It's so creepy.
When you say that, I glance down at Beecham's crutch.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, because the magical item that he has, right?
Can
Yeah.
I roll to see if I notice her do that?
Well, she probably, from where she is, she'd probably be looking at the table. Because she probably couldn't see his crutch. Unless you
Right.
literally look under the table, like lean down and look under. It'd more be a subconscious glance in that direction. So she'd
I
probably...
can see her being like,
Yeah.
I mean, so we still wait for this conclave, right? I guess.
But it seems
mean,
like
we'd
the
have
most
to-
logical thing to do, of course. At least first.
Okay. Well, I think, Kia, you're right. We should use what we have, and what we have is an opening and a possible inn with a Jarl. Oh, this is going to go so wrong, isn't it?
Positive outlook, Seredivan. We can do this. We can do this. I believe in you and Marlowe.
I believe in all three of you. Oh, Cuthbert, help us.
Well, are we
So I
sit here and enjoy the hospitality of this backward establishment for 9 or 10 days?
I guess so, right? I mean,
Well, after all the travelling and jaunting around the northern peninsula that you've done, maybe you deserve a break.
yeah.
yes.
Maybe if we can get some beds instead of sleeping in this big tavern for 10 days. You know?
Well, we can ask
Fly our way into a house?
Ask the chief, and maybe your friend Innan might be willing to let us at least provide us some form of bed, even if we can't all stay in the same place. At least we might all have more comfortable and sensible lodgings.
That's a good idea. Let's do that. And let's see you till the summit. Let's rest up.
All right, so yeah, between the chief, Fingal, Erskine, and Irnan, they'll provide you spare rooms that you can all sleep in for the next 8 to 9, 10 days or whatever, at least until the summit. Okay. Is that what you guys are going to do?
Yeah?
Yes.
All right. Well, then you all get a good rest. Let's go ahead and say every one of you. Are you going to try? Are any of you going to try to like get to know these people, climatize with them, stuff like that, or you want to keep yourselves to yourself?
Yes, I want to do that.
Okay.
I would too,
Get to know
honestly.
some people.
Okay. Mara?
Yeah.
I might a little. If I
Okay.
see something that like piques my interest anyway.
Okay, then, seeing as you're already technically here favorably by the chief, you're staying with the chief and the chief's son or chieftain, and you're going to be here for 9 days. You can all make a diplomacy roll, and you can have +9 on it for each day that you're going to spend actively being involved. So if you think you're not going to basically spend all day every day trying to be social, then just deduct whatever you think is appropriate for the amount of effort you want to put in.
All right, so I'm gonna add it to this roll, the diplomacy, the 9 you said.
If you're basically spending the entire
am.
time busting your ass, then yes. Okay, so
I
Kia's got
absolutely
16. Okay.
For what?
+9.
Ooh,
so
Radovan,
25.
holy shit.
That's with the 9.
Yeah,
included.
okay.
So
So this is this just for one day or for the whole
For
time?
the whole time.
The whole
So
time.
basically, if you spend all day every day socializing, helping people out, trying to get to know everything about these people, I'm giving you a plus for every day that you're going to do that. So if you think you
Okay.
might only do a little of that, then just give yourself a plus anywhere between 1 and 9 based on the amount of work you're going to put in.
Okay, I think I would probably look into it for like maybe the first.
Because Kia put in like 6 days worth of effort by the looks of it.
Yeah,
I'm
I think I
doing
would probably
every
do
day.
5.
Okay.
I'd probably do 5 and spend the rest of the time training if I don't see anything I
All right.
find interesting.
All right. Okay.
What's that weird ass number there? That it like rolled all weird,
It's
and then that
leaning
take
up
that
against the
plus
wall of
5.
the tavern.
So,
Yeah. So it had the +5 on it. So you actually.
oh, did it?
No, it said you did a D20 +10.
Yeah, I didn't. That's my diplomacy check. I didn't add anything to it.
Oh, you didn't add the
other than my
5?
skill.
I didn't add anything either.
Oh, okay. So
Don't know how to
yours.
do that.
Okay. So
Mine's 25.
So yours is 25, and Marlo's is actually 19.
Okay.
And Radovan, you actually added yours into the roll, right?
I added mine.
Fancy!
All right.
Ooh, I'm Radovan.
So yeah, by the time you've spent your time here, so what sort of thing you guys like? Is there any specific thing you would like to achieve with these people? If so, give me an idea
yes.
of what sort of thing you're doing.
I think half the time I would probably try to get more specific stories out of them about the clash that they have with the Highlanders. Like if there's all what they've all like done to each other, I guess, because I
Okay.
want to know where the conflict's coming from.
All right. Radovan, any particulars?
I would be helping them on their day-to-day activities if I could. Obviously non-magically, so I'd be just working.
Right.
And during it, I would be talking to them about their thoughts on the upcoming summits and what clan relations they might fear or have most concerns about coming to fruition. You know,
Okay.
basically trying to get a read on the summit that's coming, and so I can get a better way in to convince them later on.
All right. Anything from a religious standpoint?
I would probably, if I was on friendlier terms, show them the Odin symbol that I have and try to get their read on it. Just more about what religious hoopla they know.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
So, and Marlo, you got anything particular?
I'm listening for anything to do with fighting, becoming stronger. If they happen to say anything about a glowing blue tiger, or,
Okay.
or you know, they're not really into magic and everything. So if they have come up against anything to do with fighting against magic, especially since I'm thinking about
Okay.
Akurik and his
Right.
business.
So, things that you, like Marlowe discussion, they tell you that, you know, from the time that they're able to physically hold a sword properly with one hand, so usually around the age of 9, 10, 11, 12, they start training their boys to fight. Even their women are trained to fight to defend themselves to some point, so even Lowlander women are capable of wielding swords.
If they're telling me that, I'm going to ask them who's their strongest woman.
Iernan will tell you he thinks his wife is. They are also, they do a lot of things like what they'll do is they'll strip all the way down to just their loincloths and cover themselves in snow to harden themselves against the conditions and stuff like that, so that in battle the cold affects them less because they're more used to it, and things.
I'm doing that shit.
Of that nature. They take ice baths. They'll come out early morning, and when the trough of, the animal troughs are full of water and there's a thick layer of ice, they'll break the ice and get into it and use that to harden themselves up. I mean, and the way you see these guys wandering around, they're nowhere near, they don't wear the furs that you guys wear, they don't wear anywhere near the weather protection, so it kind of makes sense that they've done some things to climatize themselves more to the conditions.
Okay, whatever day I hear about that on, for the rest of the time I'm there, I'm going to be doing that shit.
Okay, alrighty.
I'm talking stripping down, rolling in snow and shit like that.
There's a naked woman just running around.
A lot of people watching that happen. Okay, Kia. So, your information that you gather, so it's not a time, it's a routine thing. Generally speaking, a lot of the Highland clans, especially the ones that are more to the south, they're lazy. This is what the Lowlanders refer to them as lazy. They would rather steal someone else's sheep than raise a flock. They would rather dig up all of someone else's potatoes and turnips than grow them themselves. Their way of life is a way of what they refer to as like tinkers. They literally, theft is how they do things. That is their way. Consequently, every time that happens, whichever clan they steal from, that clan is going to reprise, and that's why the clans are always going backwards and forwards, tussling with each other. So it might be 1 minute, as you can tell, the Erskine clan here, they've had numerous conflicts with the Donacades, which is, one of the Highland clans to the north. And they've almost always got... It's like they're in a perpetual state of war with moments of peace between it. But other clans, they have tussles with other clans. They have arguments and quarrels with other lowland clans. Usually it's over either infidelities, or somebody wronged somebody's wife, or someone gypped somebody on a trade deal, or someone sold something that wasn't up to snuff. They pretty much argue over... They can argue and come to blows over pretty much anything. And honestly, from your standpoint, it's all incredibly petty and silly. Like, the sort of thing that they'll draw swords over could be... one guy gets a horse shod from the local blacksmith as he travels through. A half-mile down the road, the shoe gets shot, comes off. He comes back, accuses the guy of shoddy workmanship. The blacksmith raises a hammer. He draws a sword, and in the next moment, they're trying to kill each other in the street. It can literally be that stupid. And then, whether or not it was deemed to have been a fair fight, if this guy kills the blacksmith, well, the blacksmith's brother may head off with some of his family and kin to their town and try to... It's kind of almost like hillbilly activity, hillbilly feuds. They kind of resort to that sort of stuff.
Damn.
But you do definitely get the sense that they have a certain level of respect and fear for the Highlanders. Like, they're not scared of them, but they understand all too well that they are dangerous. And they're always worried about how many of them there are. You do hear things like, if the Highlanders could ever get off their asses and come together, they know they would have no chance. The difference is they know that the Highlanders will never do that, because they hate each other as much as they do anybody else. So that's the only thing that stops the Highlanders becoming a major threat to the Lowlanders, is the fact that they'll never ever form any form of alliance, or at least that's what they hope doesn't ever happen. Radovan, no one has a clue about anything regarding that Odin symbol. They've never seen it, they've never heard it. You're going to hear pretty much a lot of the same things that Kia did regarding all of these, whatever. No one really knows or understands anything about the Valkyrie. By now, some stories have been told. Apparently, the Valkyrie are winged demons. You hear that.
So I'm going to dispel that rumor as quickly as I hear it.
You hear that they can summon angels from the heavens that are 12 feet tall and can hurl lightning bolts around. You hear that the Valkyrie themselves are akin to giants, and that they're all 10 foot tall, and they wear sheets of steel that's impervious to the weapons of the Lowlanders.
So whenever I hear anything that would cripple their morale, I would dispel it, and I would basically say, "Look, I'm wearing what the Valkyrie wear. Look, get a look." Yeah.
Well, by the end of all of that, Radovan, by the time, with a 39 diplomacy, they've pretty much, they're good morning, they're all greeting you every morning, patting you on the back, inviting you in for a drink and all that sort of stuff, and pretty much the entire clan now has accepted you as almost like one of their own, like an honorary member.
Yeah. Fuck Arconis, I'm moving up here.
Yeah.
Live up here.
Kia, there's a lot of them, it's more of a healthy respect for you than friendship, because they seem to be a little bit intimidated by you. But you are very weird looking and very striking, and quite honestly,
I am beautiful.
Well, you are. But you don't look like they're women.
That's for damn sure.
And you have pointy ears and sharp features, and everywhere you go, you have this weird aura of power about you. So they are definitely kind of a little bit afraid at the same time, but not, like they're scared of you. They just know that you're not to be trifled with. They have a respect for you. Most of the other women don't like you very much.
Good. I don't like them.
And then, of course, Marlowe, by the time you finished, a lot of the younger ones and stuff like that are starting to slap you on the back and push you in the snow and throw snowballs at you, and started to think of you as one of the lads more than anything else. But yeah, you have an eventful 9 or 10 days. On the 8th day, Irnan informs you that he and his father are traveling to the Conclave, and they should be back in a couple of days.
So we would go with them.
No,
right?
He says you cannot come.
But we can help with the talks, with what we know.
I don't think we can help.
The problem is, he said, it's a secret conclave for leaders of the clans. You're not. He said, there's only me and my father get to go.
Right, but we are leaders of Arconis, where we hail from, in some ways.
Unfortunately, it's a hardened law that they're not going to lift or change. If there's anything you wish to tell us that we need to depart that information to them, go ahead and do so. As much as I trust you, it's a sacred thing, and it's rare that these conclaves are ever called at all. And if we showed up with 3 or 4 strangers in tow, well, it could seriously dampen the possibility of getting everybody to see eye to eye in the first place.
What is your outlook on how this is going to go? I mean, do you see it working with the leaders?
We won't know until we get there. So the hope is that Father and I can convince them that the Valkyrie threat is very real, and that the dwarves can offer us something of value, that it's worth them offering up a portion of their summer harvest for. And the hopes that they're willing to form an alliance and have their men ready to come march should it be necessary.
Yeah, my friends, when when you return from the summit, since I guess we're not going, we will be trying to open up a dialogue with the Valkyrie themselves to really ascertain what their deal is, and we're going to try our hardest to prevent a war from happening, because it is not what we want.
Well, no, nobody wants a war.
But
if war's going to come to us, we need to make sure that we're not sitting around like a bunch of barn pots waiting to get slaughtered.
Since we can't go there, I guess the only thing I could think of to say is that you have some strangers from the south who have been in a war, and we survived it, and we are willing to help you guys, and can probably impart some wisdom on how to get the upper hand if it comes to it. Yes.
Right, and I myself stood toe-to-toe with you in the battle when we fought the Valkyrie, so I know quite well what they're capable of.
Good. Anything else, guys, to impart? Since we can't go?
Nope.
Alright, I'm just gonna sit down.
Alrighty.
Kind of feeling like, oh, this isn't gonna go well because we can't speak for ourselves.
It's gonna be fine.
That's
Renee.
probably a good thing. You guys usually put your feet in your mouths anyway. Alright, so Irnan and the chief, Fingal Erskine, ride out of town bright and early that morning. As I said, they said they'll be back in a couple of days.
Okay.
They rode westwards out of town, which is the direction that you came from. So you can kind of guesstimate where they're going.
As they go, I'm going to say, I hope they don't run into any goblin armies from the forest. And I guess I'm gonna wait apprehensively for...
Okay. Alright, so you wait another couple of days, and finally, late afternoon, 3 days later, they come riding back into town and make their way straight to the chief's house. Irnan does the courtesy of swinging by the tavern to let you know that they're back, and tells you to head over in about an hour.
Alright.
All right.
Wait for the hour and then go.
Okay. Get you out of the tavern. Out of that infernal bagpiping.
We've been listening to it for 9 whole days. More, actually.
All right. You taking Beecham with you to meet with them, or yeah? No.
Yeah.
Okay. He feels privileged. All right. Okay. So as soon as you get there, Irnan is waiting.
I'm wearing less than usual somehow.
Her white robe, she lost them in the snow. She doesn't know where they are. There's some really powerful magical robes just laying somewhere in a snow pile. All right. Okay, so once you get back, or you go across, Irnan opens the door and, hey, come in. And he seems to be in fairly good spirits.
Oh, I guess this went well.
You can see Fingal is just kind of like, looks like he's just washed himself and freshened up and stuff like that after his travel.
Okay.
And he smiles at you and he says, well, feel free to take a seat. And he motions you towards the
All right.
table.
I do so in orderly fashion.
Nope.
No. Ah! I didn't even move myself that time. Like, what's going on?
Who is...
I'm
Marlo,
not-
what are you doing?
Y'all are just
Who's
going,
moving me?
I'm not.
I didn't move myself.
What?
I switched chairs like 3 times and I only moved
Musical
myself
chairs,
once.
stop. Everyone sit down right now. We take a seat away. And everyone goes around again. Okay. You're doing that, right?
I'm not doing anything.
I'm not
Really?
doing anything.
Dude, do I need to hold my hands in the air? Like,
Let me look. Hold on.
yes,
Oh my god.
Just in case. I bet this puts a stop to it. Just so you know, because both Radovan and Kia had access to control your tune, so I've got a feeling one of them might have been messing with you. I don't know. But
I did it with the chair swapping, but not that other dance
Okay,
thing
I
on
did
the
the
top.
other one. Did we both
See, it
do
was
it?
both of them doing it.
I was trying to move myself because I
you
thought I
suck.
sat on Marlowe and then I moved, but I moved her instead. And
Can't trust these people. You just can't do it. You a
He's
scum.
asking me, "What are you doing?" I'm not doing anything. I'm not even touching the mouse.
All right. Okay. So yeah, he says, "Well, if how can I put this? None of them were impressed by the items that we brought to offer from the dwarves. They said that such items were not necessary. They were too big, too cumbersome, and altogether useless.
uh-huh.
Okay.
But,
Working fresh. Oh,
but,
okay. Go on.
they were impressed with the craftsmanship. So the question remains, could the dwarves make smaller hammers that could be used by the smiths? And could they perhaps, if we was to send a couple of examples of our steel with you to them, could they possibly mimic our type of weapons and provide something more acceptable to our kin?
I think that would be very easy to arrange, considering while it would be it would be work for sure, it would utilize less material,
No, that's
and you'd
true.
probably get a better deal with the fruits and vegetables that you would be sending in trade.
We just need to word it correctly so they're not offended that they didn't like the products.
Well, then if this is the case, we may possibly be able to have a fair accord with these dwarves in the relations to trade.
Well, trade is the first step, yes.
The next question was that your hopes were some of these dwarves would be willing to stand with us against this Valkyrie menace should it come.
Yes.
The problem there is, out of the dozen clans that we met with, while 10 of them were willing to offer up a fifth of their harvest next summer, few of them were willing to take the Valkyrie as a serious threat.
How many of the dozen
Well,
would take the Valkyrie as a threat?
we asked each chief for a head count. Should all 12 of the clans come together, we count we'd have about just shy of 1,000 able-bodied men. However, only about 300 to 400 of those troops would be considered available at the now. The majority of them seemed hesitant, or were hesitant, to offer any aid in the situation. You see, primarily because there's still no proof or actual direct threat from the Valkyrie. As far as we know, the first farm hasn't been burnt, the first village hasn't been ransacked.
I understand, but how long, if a barn was to be burnt or a place ransacked, mobilization would take time in and of itself. especially if even for word to reach all 12 of these clans.
Aye.
So,
Take at least 2 weeks.
and by then, probably 1 or 2 clans would fall. If it came to that.
Well, as we are one of the most eastern clans, it's going to form upon us to set up a watch, as it were. So, Earnan, Talkwell, Blaine, Ross, going to gather a few men and take it in turns to set up a watch 3 or 4 days from here to the east. Should they see any sign of trouble, then they'll come running back, at which point, well, we'd have to fend for ourselves for a short time until the rest of the local kins and clans could come together. We could hold out for a couple of days.
And the, what was the mentality of the Skanes? The Skane clan?
They're on board. The
And
Skane said
the
that,
Dunedins?
they were also on board.
Well, we have met the chieftains of both.
Aye.
I could probably send word quicker to them to mobilize if it came to that, of course. As you know,
Well,
we
how
might
quick could you do such a thing?
immediately.
He has quite the power. If you didn't know that
Is
about
there
him.
such a way that one of our kin that set up a watch could notify you immediately? Do you have such an ability to make that happen?
What?
Oh shit, it's a level 4 spell.
If that were the case, they could notify you. You could notify the leaders of the other clans. And they could be here at Cairnemoore before the Valkyrie arrived. Then we could have 3, 4, or even possibly 5 clans ready to meet them. We could then send runners to the others and within another week have the rest of the clans here.
The thing is, we are planning to go and visit one of the Jarls of Valkyrie, probably on the morrow, to try to stop a war or at least ascertain what their deal is. As for setting up some sort of plan to alert people quicker, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking that'd be harder to do. I could send a message instantly. Getting a message to me to send a message instantly, if I'm in a compromised state, that would be hard to do. If there was a way to get you guys to do it quickly, that's another issue.
As old Mayor Duncan mentioned, as these Valkyrie have yet to do any harm, perhaps the entire thing is a misunderstanding. Perhaps when you head north and meet with this Jarl or whatever he is, perhaps you can remedy the situation and none of this will matter.
Well, that's the hope.
I hope so.
I mean, that is what we would like to have happen.
If I may interject, says James, raising his right hand. I was the one that alerted Sir Radovan, Lady Kia, and Sir Marlowe about the situation. I can assure you their intent is very most definitely to travel south and claim, as they put it, the more amicable farmland. The question is whether they would bother now or wait till summer to do so.
I suppose that's something we could try to ascertain without trying to be too obvious when we speak with the Jarl.
Yes, but I can assure you, your chief, that the threat is a very real threat. Unless, of course, they've changed their minds, which I would hazard a guess probably is not the case.
But getting them to stop their southward aggression or pursuit, that would, I mean, if they want the farmland and you guys are here, if they could get it by force, what would be the diplomatic end to it? That's the question we need to try to figure out, right?
Well, yes, they are a people that are used to achieving everything by force. They relish the opportunity to fight. It's not something that they see as a unfortunate necessity. It's something that they see as a recreational sport. Don't get me wrong, they understand and appreciate the value of life, so if you was to show up and say, hey, they've decided to completely concede the South to you, and all the lands are yours, they would probably cheer and be quite happy about it. But if you think that trying to convince them that fighting isn't the answer, that's probably not going to be your best bet. Because they will actually look upon that as a downside. They'd probably rather fight. With no disrespect to any here, but you've just mentioned that you could possibly, if all the clans come together, muster just shy of 1,000, and I know for a fact that they are at least 5 that number.
What if we could just find them viable farmland somewhere else that doesn't create a war?
Well, I don't know of any viable farmland that's this side of the mountains that doesn't belong to the lowlanders. But I'm sure if you could find such an option. But this is why you're here, you see. These are diplomatic matters that you excel at dealing with.
Okay.
I mean, we are this is the easternmost settlement of the lowlanders, correct?
Yes.
There is a
Well,
whole
no,
stretch
not
of
the
land.
most eastern, but it is the
Largest eastern?
largest eastern settlement, if that makes any sense. There are some small clans and some small farms, but they're not really, you know, we're talking about
And-
small settlements of 12 or 24 men, not villages or townships.
And there is obviously quite a bit of land further to the east of here that you guys use as farmland, or is kind of just up for grabs, which is what's causing some of the issues. Because I know we're not by the sea right now, right? I mean, there's more land to speak of.
Our way is to... This is how we are. It's each clan, for example, if an Earthskin and a, well, if two clans intermarry and adopt a new name, it is customary for them to go and seek out an area themselves and then begin to farm. And from that farming would grow a settlement around that. And a new township would eventually be created. And to the east of here, there are at least half a dozen of those infant establishments that I know of.
Okay.
And they're the ones that would be of little to no ability to defend themselves against the Valkyrie. But of course, they also have plenty of available land. As for us, well, from the edge of Cairnemoore, almost as far as the eye can see is our territory.
Okay.
Hundreds of
And-
acres. Nay,
and there-
thousands.
There is a question I've been having for several days now, hoping you can answer. Over the mountains to the south, there is a swath of land that seems to be not a wasteland necessarily, but not really occupied. We had to traverse it heading to the northwest and then skirted along we got through the mountain pass. Well, there wasn't a mountain pass. We got through the mountains by traveling along the westernmost seaboard, right? Is there any reason why you guys haven't yourselves migrated southward to these uninhabited lands that are between where you guys live and where I'm from? There's a lot of land there.
Well, mostly because it would put the clans too far apart. And mountains are dangerous things to traverse.
Well, that is true. But the mountains would provide a buffer of sorts, do they not? Because
Well,
I'll be well,
the mountains to the north of here have...
I'm talking about the mountains to the south of here.
Aye, but the mountains to the north of here have provided a good buffer for, well, a couple of centuries or more. But populations grow, things change, supplies and, the land itself alters. We've had no quarrel with these Valkyrie for a couple of 100 years, but now there becomes an issue. If we was to
course.
vacate these lands up here and travel south, it would only be a matter of time before that land would become required. The Valkyrie, they need to stay on their side of the mountains and stay north. 'Tis not our fault that they are not smart enough or wise enough to cultivate fertile land.
Right.
Damned if they're going to just show up and take ours after all the work that we've put in.
I'm totally reminded of that old proverb, you know, give a man a fish and he'll thankful, teach a man how to fish, he'll be set for life or whatever.
Yeah. Teaching them how to farm
Well,
correctly.
Yes, wouldn't that be a valuable thing?
That this is just it. The Valkyrie have learned how to farm.
But that
What
doesn't
they
stop
don't
them.
have is land that they can farm upon. Hence the sudden desire for fertile land and their eye traveling south down to where such land exists.
Right. It's interesting.
Unless you wish to volunteer the land south of the mountains for farmland for the Valkyrie, if you'd like to see them on our side of the mountains.
No, it's a impossible request of what I would rather see, and I acknowledge that, and it's a stretch if anything. I would honestly rather you fine folk be as close to Arconis as you can be, because I prefer you guys, just from personal experience, and you guys are good folk, and
Well,
it
we
would
appreciate
definitely
that, but
be a boon
understand,
to Arconis, but yes, I understand.
While I only speak for my clan, the Erskine clan has farmed this land and been here for over 200 years. This is heritage land, and we are a proud people. Can I just up and move an entire settlement, an entire village, and go and start farming elsewhere? Just because some pointy-helmeted, fat, stinking tubs of lard with big axes come flailing around and threatening us? No,
I'm gonna
no.
awkwardly shift my horned helmet as he mentions it. And I look down at myself like,
We'd rather die. Nope, the Valkyrie want to take this land, they're gonna have to do it the force. That's one thing that all the clans are in agreement of.
And I get that, although you have 400 able, only up to 1,000 if all the clans band together. And as Beecham has said, they're outnumbered 10 to 1, 5 to 1.
I would say at least 5 to 1. The settlements here in the lowlands, as I've noticed, as I've looked at the population, in the Valkyrie settlements, they tend to be at least 5 or 6 times as large as the larger settlements that they have here, and seem to be way more densely populated.
Okay. So, going to the Jarl, what can we bring them to possibly use as negotiation if they seem to relish force and the challenge of combats?
Well, generally speaking, they like riches and wealth, which is one of the reasons they enjoy trading and working with the hill dwarves.
Okay.
Gold, jewelry, gemstones, any kind of, quite honestly, this cat that I have here in my bag that you lovingly created is the sort of thing that they would probably like. They seem to consider it, each Jarl, the more he has, the more treasure he has on display, the more notoriety he has, the more status he has with the other Jarls.
Okay. We know the dwarves have the wealth, but they are afraid to get involved in their way. We have a tentative deal possible with you guys and them. Finely crafted tools for fruits and vegetables and harvest time. I guess the only leverage I can see is trying to go to this Jarl that Beecham you are on familiar terms with and try to enact a 3-tiered structure of trade, right? To cease hostilities and possibly start... They cultivate their lands for wealth from the dwarves and start that kind of relation. That's the only thing I can think of that's not duplicitous or utilizing resources that aren't technically ours. And I'm going to look at Beecham and would cause an international incident, if you know what I mean.
Fingal he looks at you and he says, "So you don't think these dwarves will raise an arm to help then?"
That remains to be seen, I think.
Well, if they don't, and the Valkyrie come and take over all the lands that we have, well, then they're going to see their fifth of the harvest this year, that's for sure. So in a way, they would be protecting their own interests.
And that's what we would use to leverage them. Hey, we have this trade deal, but, you know, you're going to lose it unless you protect it.
Dwarves have surprised us in the past in a positive light, so I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of change of heart.
We've had little dealings with them ourselves, but
Well,
we trust your judgment. You've not
Do you
steered
have-
the throng.
do you have crates of fruits and vegetables, even in this harshest of winters, that we could use to show that you are on the what you got, as well as the tools that you would want crafted? Anything like a gesture of goodwill?
We did manage to, we have some of our own stores, and there were some of the clans that brought an offering as well, as requested. So we can probably send a cart full of fresh fruit and vegetables and grains.
We would not want that to spoil. I mean, I can obviously keep it fresh for everybody as we go day to day. But of course, if we go to the Jarl first, we lose that opportunity to return to the dwarves. Right, Kia, Marlo?
True.
Yes, it does seem that the smart thing would be to at least go back and deliver the terms for the trade agreement, and in doing so we could take the vegetables and fruit with us, I suppose.
With the items, for example, that they would want crafted.
Yes. And then if the dwarves agree, then at least we know we have a trade bargain struck. Then we just have to convince the dwarves to be willing to defend the bargain, I suppose. You have to.
Yes.
Okay.
And then from there, I suppose we can travel eastwards and go and find the Valkyrie.
And try to convince him that he'll take some farm, but not this farm, or not these farms of already settled places, and also strike up a deal for gold and jewelry and riches. Yes.
That's going to have to be something that you're going to have to handle, I'm afraid.
I'm just saying what you stated and what we'd have to try to do.
Well, what I'm saying is that the Valkyrie are, if they've decided they're going to take the land, they're going to take it.
Right.
By force. Without caring about... You're going to have to make them a deal that is considerably more attractive than taking the land that in their eyes they can just reach out and take for free. They won't see dealing with these lowlanders, no offense, misters of the Erskine clan, but they won't see you as a threat, and they'll consider it a recreational exercise if they have to dispatch a few of your kinsmen to free up the land. They'll almost look at it like getting rid of the vermin. So you're going to have to convince them of something that is more attractive than
I'm sorry.
And I will
Just
also
really
say
frustrated
that
with this.
the problem with the Valkyrie is, while you can trust their word to a degree, everything does tend to be subject to an expiration.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they might agree to a term today, and then should anything happen to make that no longer agreeable, they're just as likely to change their minds.
Right. It's... I guess the problem is they don't have any evidence of the true might and power of Arconis itself. Now, granted, we were put behind by the war, but they don't necessarily need to know that, because we did win said war. They would risk, maybe in the future, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, conflict with Arconis, and I'll be honest, we would kill all of them if they threatened Iridian and my kingdom, my home.
Under different circumstances, I would agree with you. Under the current circumstances, I don't think that Arconis could defend itself against them. I may be wrong.
I think it would. I think you're more right than I'd like, but they could see an example of our ability on what an average Arconian could do if we present ourselves as such. You know? This is the forces you possibly threaten if you do not go along with what we want. We have an arena champion here and a woman who could, you know?
I would cast no aspersions on your abilities. I will say, I have witnessed Valkyrie warriors that would rival anything I've ever seen in the South. And while you yourselves have very impressive magical powers, and as I understand, Sir Radovan, you commune directly with St. Cuthbert, they also have the ability to commune with their gods, and their gods tend to be a little bit more interested in being directly involved than the Arconian gods do.
I see.
I was not there, but I understand that from the stories that I heard, one of the Valkyrie summoned a herd of giant flying winged angels that were throwing lightning bolts. I would consider that quite a formidable thing if that was the truth. Although I have heard in the last few days that apparently that was somewhat over-exaggerated.
It was a smidge. I was trying to quell said rumors. And Beecham, I do value your opinion, and I do see what caution you're trying to levy against us. But do recall that it was us four, you were not there, who dealt with that, and we came out of it.
No, I understand.
Just fine.
I understand.
So, okay.
It would behoove me to have you go there thinking that you are far superior to anybody or anything that you're going to find there, because I don't think that that's necessarily the case.
True. Okay,
Jarl himself is a great and powerful warrior, as are his two sons, and they themselves have some of the finest Valkyrie soldiers that you're ever going to find, and they are but one clanship and one Yalden. And unlike these lowlanders, they are much more open to working together to achieve their ends. Which is why I have no doubt that if they decide that there is a threat to the south, they will come together to overcome that threat. So if we put up any form of defense, we have to understand and accept that we may be having to deal with all of them.
Okay. As it stands, we have to deal with the dwarves and the aftermath of this trade agreement to try to get it in stone. By the same token, there's still that thing up there in the mountains that we probably should pursue just so we could possibly use it as our own leverage. We still have to do that. So I say, that's what we do.
Yes, I agree. Let's take the offering and the trade agreement to the dwarves as quickly as possible. Now we have the answer, and we can deal with everything else after that, I suppose.
Cuthbert bless us.
Everyone.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna rub at my eyes and... This is wearing me down, Radovan.
Kia,
I never thought I'd have to do this.
If it comes to it, if we have to go to war, Kia, the amount of damage that you, Marlowe, and myself can do on a battlefield, numbers won't mean shit to them. Keeping in mind what Beecham has said about their capabilities as well, but they will not be expecting what we can offer. Speaking of the Valkyrie.
I wouldn't mind a few dragons on our side.
Your elementals are quite formidable in and of themselves, but fair enough.
Maybe I'll be able to summon one someday.
A dragon?
Just dreaming big here.
Just pop one out of a bag. That's Cal's next trait that he hasn't actually revealed yet. He actually can become
dragon.
80 foot tall. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
But
can you enlarge him?
I can enlarge Cal to a medium-sized creature. Yes,
you can make Cal about the size of a large dog.
Yeah, he's a diminutive creature, right? So he'll become small.
He's about cat size right now. Yeah.
Right, so he'll become a small instead of a medium. Yeah, that'll work well.
Yeah, you know. All right. Well, if that's what your game plan is, then you have one.
Yeah. Get those perishables, get those tools from Fingal, Lionor, and then go see the dwarves.
Yay! Back the same path.
Okay. Well, you do know that way, and what we're going to do is, because I don't want to kill any more unnecessary campaign time with additional travel, you're going to get there unaccosted. You know, obviously it takes you the same amount of time to get there as it did to get down, but eventually you will find yourselves back at the Dwarven Citadel of Cairnemoore. Let me go ahead and
Awesome.
do this. Where is it? Alrighty. Okay, so with the skiff in tow that's loaded down with all the fresh fruits and vegetables, and they've kind of like packed them all in crates with snow on top to like help maintain the freshness and stuff like that.
I have also been casting Purify Food and Water on them daily,
Okay.
so they stay super fresh. As fresh as they can be.
You have way less trouble getting in through the huge gates. Once again, the fiasco happens is when they see you. It takes them forever to crank the cogs that open those massive stone slabs. But finally they have done so, and you are back in the city, immediately hit by the unnatural amount of warmth that is in this open air, high top mountain location. Alrighty. You going straight to the Lord
If they
of the
will
Hall?
see us. Yeah, if they'll see us.
He will, just because.
Thanks, Lord.
Whether he likes it or not. All right.
You requested audience, Your Majesty.
Yeah, maybe you have to wait a couple of hours before you get your audience, but you know, eventually you will. Go ahead and move you in there. Should be just about get that. Well, hopefully that roll 20 can stop being a bug. All right. Okay. So once again, you find yourselves in the hall of the Dwarven Lord, Lord of the Halls, and several familiar faces can be seen in there. The Marshal of the Mountain meets you outside and takes stock of everything that you brought with you, and then he'll go in
Cool.
to a test of what it is that you've brung. All right.
When given permission, I'll approach until
Okay.
it looks like I should not anymore.
All right. You've pretty much figured out by now. You're fine up to the steps. You just don't want to go any further.
Lord Ironbeard. Pleasure to see you.
All right. His lordship stands at the front with his firebrand axe. As he comes over with his huge, big, long mustache and beard and looks down to you and he says, "So, how did you fare with our agreement with those to the south?"
Very well. The different clans got together and had a summit of sorts to discuss the agreement that you proposed. They each are willing to part with a fifth of their harvest in the coming year, in exchange not for weapons but tools that they would like fashioned with your masterful ability. And I'm going to show, I guess, an example of the hammer if the marshal didn't take it. Tools that would make their lives, everyday lives, easier, not necessarily for war, but for more practical purpose.
Did you take any of the claymores, or the basket-hilted broadswords, or no?
We have them, but that's not what they wanted, right? I mean, the lowlanders didn't ask for those things, right?
No, they did. They just wanted weapons, or that were more suited for them, I thought.
Oh, okay. Then in that case, then yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Kia will show that, I
Yeah,
guess.
Kia is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
missed
just said that
part.
their
So
weapons
I'll
were way
say-
too cumbersome and they couldn't use them.
They
But
found your craftsmanship very impressive, but unfortunately, they have been trained to use other such weapons that they're hoping that you will be able to craft for them.
Okay. Well, the Marshal of the Mountain, he pretty much, Scalfmere Doorstock, he vouches for the supplies that you brought in and pretty much tells the Lord of the Hall that you brought an entire skiff full of fresh fruit, vegetables, and grains as a sample and an offering, and that he thought that they were quite adequate. So upon hearing that and seeing the smithing hammer and tongs and tools that they want, and the basket-hilted broadsword and stuff like that, he says, And how much would a fifth of their harvest be exactly?
Oh shit, we would have asked them.
Is it in the terms, like the papers?
No, they didn't really sign anything on paper. They just sent you
Oh.
with an answer.
We would have asked for more specifics on on the land, but we did not exactly have that conversation, did we? We just kind of
Not that I
moved
recall,
here.
but-
It would be a fifth of all their farmland, which is, if we had a map, I could show you the land that they have been known to occupy. We get an estimate that way.
That would be fair. Obviously, it's going to be an estimate. They're not going to know to the bushel, the exact bushel of number of individual carrots.
It'd be 12,000 bushels
Of carrots, yeah.
Carrots. Is that a thing?
Yeah,
I
no,
don't know.
So, yeah, he'll accept that. You could show him on the map and say,
Yay!
this is their farmland. It's a fifth of everything this area produces. And in medieval terms, that would be quite sufficient to give an approximation of an idea. So,
Evil hype.
all right. So so basically, you can do that. And he looks at it and says that he's willing to provide 100 hammers, 100 pairs of tongs, and 100 swords in exchange for that.
That is great. Thank you.
And he will happily do that on a yearly basis. But he says, however, dwarven craftsmanship being what it is, once they have these hammers and these tongs, they are near likely to need any more anytime soon. So, after the first year, we may have to revisit the terms.
If there are people to revisit the terms for, Your Majesty.
Why, are they
You see-
planning to up and leave?
No, but there's still the ever-present threat that the Valkyrie will kill them within the next year.
Yes, this is something you
And
mentioned
take
earlier.
over the lands themselves and not give a damn about any arrangement. Which is something that my party and I plan to visit one of these Jarls to ascertain their intentions and possibly put a stop to it, although we are a little short on ideas on how.
Well, I cannot help you there. But it would indeed not be something I would be happy with if they was to, after we struck this deal and provided the steel that we're offering, that someone should then come and take this land from those that we have agreements from.
I figured as much, you being honorable folk.
Something, once again, we shall have to deliberate on.
Of course, you're
But you're going to talk to these Valkyrie folk, yes?
Yes,
Try to
Yeah.
avoid such a thing.
that is correct. They relish combats. They relish taking things by force if they need it. And as Beecham has informed me, they relish gems and jewels and golds and they seem to have a false equivalency of the more they have, the more powerful they are, if you will.
Well,
Something that I've never personally considered, but
I-
I can understand the mentality.
I understand a love for the finer things and to surround yourself with such things of value. In this matter, we may have something in common with the Valkyrie.
I shouldn't have said false equivalency. I take that back.
But if they think that their warring ways is going to yield them any benefit in dealing with my kin, well, that would be a little different. No, we are quite a capable people ourselves when it comes to raising a hammer or an axe.
Well, we know these Valkyrie to have... we suspect them to have relations with the Hill Dwarves. Possibly where they get some of their wealth and...
You mentioned them before, too.
I would love it if everybody up here just got along and had some trade agreements and lived by them and were truthful to them. And
Exactly. Why
All
can't we
conflict-
just all get along?
I fear even if such a thing could be created, with the levels of greed that run deep in man, and the distrust that they seem to harbor for one another, let alone those of the other races, it would be a shallow peace at best.
Yes.
These are the reasons why dwarven kind tends to prefer to either hide deep inside the mountains or, like us, high atop them. Far removed from the petty squabblings of humans.
I understand that. At the same time, you told us last time we spoke that you and the Hill Dwarves had no open relations either.
This is true.
They are dwarves as well as you. It seems like an odd thing to forsake.
The difference is, we acknowledge each other as being of a different mentality, so choose to stay well clear, and have done so for centuries.
Understood.
Whereas the humans, well, when they have a disagreement, they tend to come to blows. Far more frequently.
It's true. I got nothing to say to that.
Well,
That's
as you're here,
nail on the head.
spend as long as you need here in Cairnemoore. Then go and visit with your Valkyrie brethren. And I suppose ascertain what the likelihood is that they are going to try to seize the lands to the south by force. If it looks like that's going to happen, well, we will have to deliberate if we wish to be involved or not, and whether we deem the value of these bounties of the earth to be worth fighting for.
There's always a chance that we go and visit this Jarl and then are never seen or heard from again. You would not learn of our plight or our fate and their intentions. I just want you to know that that's a risk.
Well, if you did a return, we'll know, won't we?
I just know that the Lowlanders they have their pettiness, and they have their squabbles, but they are honorable people. I mean, they're proud people, so I think it's something you guys can relate to. It's a compliment, by the way. I don't mean that as an insult. I mean, we're all kind of proud in our way.
Well, if we're going to enter into a trade agreement, I would hope so.
I believe eventually you'll find mutual respect among yourselves. You are very similar.
Well, they definitely provide or offer to provide something that we are in need of. And it would appear that we can provide a craftsmanship that is beyond their capabilities. So in this alone, I can see at least a amicable agreement.
Wonderful.
You said that there was a way to the hill dwarves from here. I mean, we just need to learn that route in case we need to utilize it.
There is a way through the mountains to the other side, closer to where the hill dwarves are, yes.
But it's not necessarily, I'm going to look at Beecham, to where the Jarl is. It's right, correct?
I don't actually know where the hill dwarves are.
Can we look over a map to see the possible locations and learn the? Because I mean, we could go out the way we came in and then go to the Jarl, or we can go to the hill dwarves.
Okay. So yeah, I'll pull up the northern map of Arconish. You'll have to look at it on the stream. So you'll have to give it a second. Okay, so between the Lord of the Hall and Beecham. So Beecham pretty much shows you that about level with kind of, you go directly northeast of Carvarak.
Okay. Yep.
You'll see like a little inlet.
I see.
It's almost like a little chunk. Beecham points on that at the map, and he looks at it and he says, "Now this right here, this is Bragaeos.
Okay.
Bragaeos is the land of Jarl Ulfric. His settlement is right here."
Jarl Ulfric?
Jarl Ulfric, yes. And the Dwarf Lord looks and he says, "If you follow the mountain peaks far the way up until you see a line of parallel mountains that go almost as far as the western coast."
Oh, I see. Yeah. I mean, that to the tip, right?
Right, yeah. Because it kind of goes directly northeast all the way up. Northwest, sorry, all the way up. But before that last stretch, there's a little line that kind of juts out to the west.
Yep.
Okay? He points at the map, like, right level with that. And he says, "The settlement for the hill dwarves can be found on the westernmost side near that short mountain range."
So it's like completely opposite ends of the peninsula, basically.
Well, you're on. You can't. I don't know if you can see my mouse pointer. Can you?
No, afraid
Okay.
not.
So basically, where the inlet is, which is kind of directly northeast of Kervarak, that is where
Yeah, I
Bragaeos
got
is.
right.
And then if you was to pretty much come inward to the mountains, go up and over that first little mountain, and follow it along until you see the line of mountains that's parallel.
Okay.
Right at the base of that mountains on the eastern side is where the Hill Dwarf settlement is.
Okay.
So you would basically be kind of from where the Valkyrie settlement of Bragaeos is, you'd kind of go just up a little bit northwest. But you'd have to circumnavigate a chunk of mountains to get down into that little divot.
Right, the little divot, I see. And then there's the single mountain, and then that's like a little gap.
Yeah.
We'd have to pass
So you'd
through.
pretty much go through that gap and then drop down into the basin of
Got it,
those
yeah.
mountains, but on that side. Yeah.
Got it, okay.
So from here, you're pretty much going through the thickest part of the mountains all the way, so there is a pass or a pathway through all these mountains, but it is literally going through the highest and most dangerous points of that mountain range.
Right, so probably leaving the mountains, going on the east side, and going northeast is the safest bet, right?
It's
otherwise
definitely going to
you're
be
just
safer to go around the edge and to the Valkyrie that way. Physically safer, terrain-wise, for sure. And way less unpleasant, nasty things to ambush you and waylay you.
Right. Because
Yeah,
going the hill dwarf route, we're like steeped in Valkyrie territory, probably a lot of shit. Yeah. Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
I guess let's go.
All right. So,
Okay.
basically they accept the agreement. So you have a agreement set between the
We did
dwarves of
something.
Cairnemoore and the lowlanders in the south. 1/5 of the harvest of all the lowland clans in exchange for 100 hammers, 100 sets of tongs and tools, and 100 basket-hilted broadswords.
Yay!
All right. Which they can pretty much, here at Cairnemoore, can knock that out in less than a month.
All right. So we're gonna leave to go to the Jarl. And on the way, Radovan's going to send a sending message to Ernin, because he doesn't want to get in Fingal's mind, basically relaying this information. Like, a deal has been struck a month for the supplies for 1/5 of the farmland.
And the
as for
dwarves are willing to give their supply, they're willing to pay up in advance, because they understand that the harvest is not going to be ready until summer. So
Right.
Yeah.
We'll pay in advance. Also, chance of support from dwarf protection, basically.
Alrighty. Well, that's a pretty good place to wrap things up. So Thursday, we head off to visit the other protagonist in this little story of ours.
Yay!
So, leaving the lowlanders and the highlanders behind, we will venture into Valkyrie country.
Yay!
Alrighty, well that's a great place for us to wrap things up. Hi there, I'm Gorbad. Welcome to the Orc's Nest. I'm the Dungeon Master here on How We Roll, and if you'd like to follow me personally, you can do so on Twitter @Gorbad. Check out thedmblog.com for all things Dungeon Master and Dungeons and Dragons related, and of course you can follow me on twitch.tv/Gorbad. Also, guys, don't forget to keep up with all things How We Roll. Follow us on Twitter @HowWeRoll. Check out the website www.howweroll.com, and make sure you follow us on YouTube as well. Cheers, guys.
Shagget here. On How We Roll, I play Radovan Rainier, War Priest of St. Cuthbert, who just so happened to author a new academic book that's coming soon. It's titled Libido Rectification for the Required Propagation of Arconis' Depleted Men-at-Arms, or more affectionately titled Mandate Number 2 and You. You can follow me on Twitter at @neb_convos for upcoming book excerpts, just to get the hype going, push up the sales. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, I'm the Dragon Spooker, and I play Marlo Rayfell, monk and resident badass for How We Roll. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can do so using @DragonSpooker, or follow my Twitch channel, which I sometimes stream on, twitch.tv/TheDragonSpooker.
Hi, thanks for watching another episode of How We Roll. I am Jane Ivana, and this is my lovely cat, Norman, who really doesn't want to be here right now. You can follow me on Twitter, @Jane on Twitch with a 0. Shh, don't tell him, he doesn't like birds. No. I stream occasionally on twitch.tv/Jane Ivana, so you can find me there. And I guess that's all we got. You got something to say? Nope. Peace, suckers. Bye.